Tony Hinchcliffe has witnessed more comedians lose their stand-up virginity than perhaps anyone alive. And usually, it goes something like this.
Have you ever seen the show before?
No.
I'm gonna put you through 10 minutes of fucking hell. That's what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do. I am so sick of this fucking shit. Yeah, I thought it was gonna go good. I'm gonna practice my writing. Why don't you practice your fucking writing before coming on a show with 1 million people watching? You fucking numbnuts.
You're literally one of the least funny people that has ever been on the show in 9.5
Great, that's
years.
fantastic news.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Stop talking. Maybe you didn't hear what I said. That it's a comedy show, so you just filling time with blibbity blop bloobity blop doesn't really help anything. Is that Kid Rock lyrics? Jesus Christ almighty. And I'm trying to fucking make this work with you. What's something cool? What's a redeeming quality about you? Right now, everybody hates you in this room. That set was actually sadder than the George Floyd video. I don't know. It's incredible.
My career's gonna end f***ing faster than that joke? That's crazy, man. I can't believe I'm getting canceled before that.
You're not getting, you're nothing. You are less than nothing.
A genital wart can get burned off, but never canceled.
Although most of the time, the better it's being performed, the easier it looks, the art of stand-up comedy is an extremely difficult skill to master, which is why receiving a reaction like this your first time on stage is unheard of.
Carlos, you're funny as hell. How long you been doing stand-up?
It's my first time ever.
No fucking way. No fucking way. No way.
This very well may be the best first-time performance of anyone ever in the history of the show. We've debuted so many comedians here.
Carlos Lopez is the newest Kill Tony sensation to be pulled out of the bucket and instantly take over the show. Only episode 650 wasn't just Carlos's first rodeo on Kill Tony, but it was his first time on stage, period. And to say he crushed would be an understatement. Carlos Lopez, the Kill Tony Cowboy, thank you so much for coming on the show today. You were in 2 really big episodes. The first one with Bobby Lee and Bert Kreischer, it's already at 2 million views on YouTube. And then 4 weeks later, you get pulled again with Matt McCusker on stage. How's this ride been for you since getting on Kill Tony? Are the horses treating you different? What's going on?
Man, it's been wild. It's unreal. It doesn't feel real at times when you sit and think about it. I try not to. Never really thought about this really happening the way it did. I always had the idea, like a lot of other people, to go and sign up for Kill Tony one day. Mm-hmm. I was just in the area. It wasn't like, hey, I'm going to be there, in town for this. For everything to just happen the way it did, I mean, it was insane, all of it.
Yeah. How long have you been a fan of the show before signing up?
Been a couple years. I heard about it on Rogan a while back, and I remember seeing it when I was at the Comedy Store, and I didn't know what it was then. And man, I'm kind of regretting not going and watching it when I was over there.
Yeah, well, it all worked out perfectly for you. Tony called your first appearance maybe the best first-time performance in the history of the show. What does that mean to you?
I want to appreciate that, and also at the same time not let it get to my head.
Right.
I mean, I feel like I have so much to learn and so much more ahead of me. I want to appreciate it, but at the same time, I want to not let it get to my head, like I said.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Almost like an athlete. Like, you appreciate the headlines, but you got to stay focused on what you're doing. But for someone who is literally brand new to stand-up comedy with 2 very solid minutes under your belt, what's the process like of writing new jokes?
Everybody's been asking me this. They're like, how long have you been writing jokes? And this started recently. I think I wrote down my first joke. I'm like, hey, this is a joke I would tell on to somebody. Mm-hmm. I've always had like funny thoughts that come to mind, and I think the only difference now is I write them down. I'll be going down most of my joke writing happens while I'm at work, either on the road or just sitting around waiting for something, and something will pop in my mind. It'll be quick. Let me write it down before I forget it, because I forget so much. Probably almost half of what I think is funny, I forget to write down. And I'm like, what was that thought I had earlier?
Yeah,
that's kind of been my process. I don't really sit down with a pen and paper and like, all right, we're going to write a joke right now. It's just shit that pops in my mind.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you find a lot of parts of your life that you could make funny because, you're on the road all the time, you're hauling horses, but it's not that relatable? Do you want to write jokes about some of the stuff you experience every day, with horses, with cattle and stuff, but you feel like not many people would get it?
There is a lot of that. I'll write a joke and I'm like, well, this don't make sense, and so I do happen, to think of a lot of things that are funny to me in an agriculture setting. I go to a lot of farms. I meet a lot of people, customers and stuff at horse shows and stuff. And I'll kind of try a lot of these jokes out on people. And I'm like, all right, this gets a good response. Like, it's funny, but only to the horse people or only to the ag people, and,
Yeah.
I still write them down and I still got them. But on episode 1, I made a reference to like buckle bunnies or something like that. And I guarantee, actually, after the show, somebody came up to me like, hey man, I was laughing my ass off at that part, but nobody knew what you're talking about. I'm like, yeah, I figured that part out in a moment.
Well, I also noticed that you were looking down at your hand on stage. Are you jotting down premises on your hand, or was that just a funny thing that you acted out?
So actually, yeah, I did have 2 or 3 jokes written down because at the end of the day, I'm still new to this and I don't really have material memorized as well as some of these professional comedians that are they can just go into a bit. So yeah, I did actually have like 2 or 3 jokes written on my hand, and it just the first word or two on it just to kind of get me started on the first episode. I got pulled and I was nowhere I should have been. I was inside the building, but I wasn't in the crowd, like immediately in the crowd. It took forever to get to the stage and I was kind of out of breath and I forgot all my jokes. I feel like that's a common thing for people their first time ever, or just first time on Kill Tony. I just get on stage and I think I said the word, I was like, well,
yeah.
And everybody laughed and it kind of gave me literally 1 or 2 seconds to kind of like, all right, what are we going to say? Well, the jokes I told wasn't even what I was planning. I had better jokes, I felt like. Wasn't even what I was planning on telling. I guess it was a presentation or something, but I don't know.
It seems so calculated, and that's probably why it was so shocking to figure out that was your first time ever doing stand-up. But we also saw you get invited to perform at the Mothership Bottom of the Barrel show. How did that go?
I don't want to say it went great, and I don't want to say it went bad. I learned a lot, but also like, all right, that humbled me. I got to watch Rogan and Ron White and Brian Simpson and all these killers go up, and then there's me. So I'm watching the show. I don't even know if I should have done this, but I was watching the show to kind of like, well, how do you do what these people are doing? And I got up there and I got some laughs, and I'm not gonna say I didn't get laughs. I don't know how any of that worked, and I also didn't ask any questions. So like there's a light to tell you like when it's time to come off, and like I didn't understand how that works. So I was trying to, while I'm telling jokes, I'm trying to figure that out. Like, what does this light mean here? What's the clock? Like, I didn't ask how much time to do. I think I lasted like just shy of 6 minutes on there, but I feel like I might have ruined the timing in that moment. Not ruined, but messed up the timing in the moment and all that. But it was a huge learning experience, and I got an applause. Like, all right, that's been my, that's my time or whatever. I think I heard that's a very healthy crowd. Like they know it's an improv deal, and it might not grow like some polished material goes.
I've always thought that show was very, very difficult, and it's interesting to see from your perspective.
Yeah, there was comedians there that night. They're like, "Hey man, I saw you this night. You're funny." And they're like, "What are you here for?" Because it was on a Tuesday. And I was like, "I'm doing Bottom of the Barrel." And they're like, "You're doing what?" And like they were, I wouldn't say scared of it, but they're like, "I'm not gonna go sign up for that." And so now I'm like, well, shit, what am I doing here?
Yeah. It's like a money where your mouth is show. Like you could get exposed or you could rise, and it seems like you did a good job just hanging in there too, which is super impressive. Another thing that was impressive was your interviews in both these Kill Tony appearances. They were just as funny, if not more, than your actual stand-up, which we both know goes a long way in Kill Tony, in the Kill Tony universe. Going into this, did you have any plan of what you wanted to talk about, what you wanted to do for the interview portion, or were you just letting it rip?
Man, I had no plan. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't even think about the interview part. I was like, if I could just get through the joke telling part, I'm good. So yeah, that was all just in the moment. Yeah, not all those jokes land and stuff, and they're not even really jokes. For me personally, I don't have any like, all right, this is material for the interview. It's none of that at all. Maybe I should start doing that, but it might not sound as like organic. I feel like I got pretty lucky with guests so far, like Bert and Bobby, and then Matt McCusker is freaking awesome. So I feel like they had a large part to play in it.
Well, Carlos, thank you so much for your time today. I have one more final question before we get you out of here. Tony asked you most of the interesting questions about your cowboy lifestyle, but is there anything we'd be surprised to know about the process of horse hauling?
Whenever I say I haul horses, they picture like Farmer Brown and a pickup truck going down the road. I'm in a big, 18-wheeler with a custom horse trailer that's, specially made for that. And I'm hauling really high-profile horses. Like I've hauled horses for a lot of high-profile like trainers, but also people like whoever owns the guy that owns Dubai. I think his name's like Sheikh Mohammed or something like that. So I mean, we fly them too. We have like an airline.
Wow, really?
That's probably the most shocking part for people is like, you fly horses.
How does that work?
You have specialized crates for the horses, and then a special crew, pretty much like horse flight attendants, I guess you could say. We call them grooms.
Are these mostly racing horses? Like
I used to haul a lot of race horses. Now I'm hauling a lot of what they call warm blood, show horses, hunter jumpers, stuff like that, dressage. Different reasons. Somebody buys a horse from Europe or South America and they want to fly it to America because that's what they're getting it delivered.
Yeah. Do you have your own horse?
It's hard enough to keep myself fed and taken care of.
Yeah.
People always ask me, are you married? I'm like, no wife, no kids, no dogs, no goldfish.
Yeah, and you are all over the place. Do you think it's possible, like you said, you were in New Mexico recently, like, looking up open mics there, popping into shows, like, could you set up your own tour based on the horse hauling schedule?
Yeah, if I knew what I was doing, like the world of comedy, if I knew it better, I could probably pull it off relatively, easy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the Fort Worth area right now, and there's an open mic at Hyenas, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm getting into. I don't even know what time to show up, but I'm gonna go show up and ask some questions. If I can try to get a spot on an open mic, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of people reach out trying to book me. I guess they didn't see Kill Tony itself. They just seen clips and they're like, this guy's funny. Mm-hmm. So I've had people, they're like, oh, how long's your set? I'm like, I got 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Carlos, thank you again for coming on. I can't wait to keep watching your journey. I'm sure we'll see you again on Kill Tony sometime soon. Is there anything else that you want the people to know? Any socials, any upcoming shows, any last words?
At the moment, no. I'm sorry to say I don't have anything at the moment. I'm trying to figure out my relationship with Kill Tony as far as like how often should I go and try to get on, Yeah, I don't want to like wear my welcome out, I guess you could say.
Right.
So I'm trying to figure that relationship out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's a fine balance. I can't imagine. It's probably a lot of excitement and pressure all mixed together, but, net positive, I would say, for sure.
Oh, 100%. I mean, the response I've gotten, I'm trying not to read into anything as far as comments and stuff like that. I mainly let my friends send me stuff that they think I should see. Seems pretty positive. As far as I know, people are fans of. I've had people taking pictures of me at bars, which I think is weird. I'm like, I'm not famous.
I think you're well known, at least in this tight-knit community, and we say it's tight-knit, but 2 million people saw your breakout episode, and then over 1 million saw your second one. So if you think about the numbers like that, it's pretty wild. To a comedy fan, you are definitely known, I'd say.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Carlos.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Kill Tony has been on a roll this year, with every episode crossing the 7-digit mark and more talent coming out of the bucket than ever before. And luckily, you can find even more interviews with Kill Tony comedians on the end screen right after you hit subscribe. You better have actually done it.
At Joke World. That's it. At Joke World.
And the world is WRLD.
That's a great YouTube channel, Joke World. Check it out.